In the middle of the vast Pacific Ocean, where the blue waters disappear into the endless horizon, there is a tiny piece of land. A lonely island, lost among the waves, cut off from the rest of the world by thousands of kilometers. An island that is the stuff of legends, whispered about with reverent awe, and feared. It is called by many names. For some it is Easter Island. For others it is Rapanui. But for many it is the gateway to an ancient mystery that no one can fully unravel. Once upon a time, life was in full swing here. Giant stone statues were erected here, silent titans that seemed to look through the centuries. They stood shoulder to shoulder, like an army of stone warriors, and guarded the land that today holds only shadows. But where are those who erected them? Where have the people disappeared whose hands carved these boulders, whose legends whispered in the winds, whose faith turned stone into eternity? Europeans first set foot on the island in the 18th century, and what they saw horrified and bewildered them. In the middle of a deserted, bare island, where there were no forests or traces of rich life, towered gigantic Moai, stone giants, each of which weighed tens of tons. Their faces were turned inward, as if they were protecting it from something coming from the ocean. But here is what struck the explorers most of all. The people who met them were weak, exhausted, and seemed to have lost the memory of their own greatness. People no longer remembered how they erected these giants. Moreover, they told strangers that they themselves came here only recently, and that the stone giants had stood here long before them. So where did these mysterious statues come from? Who created them? And where did the mysterious people who once ruled the island disappear to? Today, scientists argue about this no less than mystics. Some talk about a catastrophe, others about wars, others about a curse, and others whisper about forces that defy explanation. After all, there are too many strange things on Easter Island: undeciphered Rongo-Rongo writing, strange legends about the long-eared and short-eared, stories about the spirits of ancestors who still roam among the Moai at night. Some researchers are even sure Easter Island is not just an island. It is a code. It is a secret message left to humanity. Maybe a warning. Maybe a key to understanding something greater than our civilization itself. Imagine a small piece of land in the heart of the ocean where there is nothing. No large animals, no forests, no rich flora. But there are stone giants whose gaze seems to pierce the soul of anyone who dares to meet them face to face. Their faces are motionless, but in their stone silence there is something alive, as if they are watching, as if they are waiting. There is a belief that the Moai are not just statues, they are receptacles for the spirits of their ancestors, and that at night, when darkness engulfs the land, they come to life, talk to each other, and look toward the ocean, toward the place where the gods may have once come from. And here is the main question. Where did the people who erected these guards disappear to? Why did a civilization that managed to raise such titans from stone suddenly dissolve? Some believe that the island perished at the hands of its own inhabitants, that they cut down the last trees, bled the earth dry, and doomed themselves to hunger and death. Others are convinced that foreigners came here, and with them came disease, slavery, and destruction. But there are also those who are sure the people of Rapanui did not disappear, they left. They went to where the Moai always look, beyond the horizon, into another world, into another layer of reality. Today we will try to follow in the footsteps of this mystery. We will look into myths, we will hear the voices of spirits, we will touch the stone that keeps eternity in itself. And perhaps we will come closer to solving one of the most mystical secrets of humanity. When Europeans first landed on Easter Island in 1722, they found more than just land. They found a people living in extreme isolation, cut off from the rest of the world by thousands of miles of ocean. And this people turned out to be the bearers of a fascinating, yet contradictory culture. But who were these people? How did they end up on this tiny patch of land? There are many versions of the origin of the Rapanui people. According to the most widespread hypothesis, the first inhabitants of the island were Polynesians. Veterans of the ocean, they spent centuries sailing the Pacific Ocean, conquering thousands of kilometers in their long canoes. Guided by the stars and currents, they found new lands where, it would seem, there was nothing. But even among these sea odysseys, The feat of settling Rapa Nui seems almost incredible. Picture this, an endless ocean, no landmarks except the starry sky. And here is a tiny island with an area of only 163 square kilometers. How could it be found in such a vast emptiness? Some researchers believe that it was an accidental drift. Others believe that the sailors knew perfectly well where they were going, and they had ancient knowledge that we have lost. According to local legends, the first inhabitants arrived on the island under the leadership of a chief named Hotumatua. His canoe, filled with people and the seeds of future life, landed on the shores of a new world. But was this simply a migration? Or was it an exodus, an escape from disaster, war, or a curse? Many mystics see a trace in this, as if the people who found themselves on the island carried with them the memory of a lost land, perhaps Atlantis or another vanished continent. The Rapa Nui brought with them a culture that was different from many of their neighboring islands from the start. Their rituals, their belief in ancestral spirits, their amazing ability to work with stone, all of this set them apart. There were almost no trees on the island, no resources, and yet they managed to create a civilization that still amazes the imagination today. Here on this tiny land, they built shrines, ahu, and erected Moai statues on them, whose stone faces today face inward. But how could a small group of settlers with limited resources create such monuments? And this is where the fun begins. Some researchers believe that there were originally two peoples on the island. Rapa Nui legends speak of the short-eared and the long-eared. The former were the common people, farmers and fishermen. The latter were the ruling class, the keepers of knowledge, perhaps the same ones who brought the tradition of building Moai. In these stories, the long-eared are described as tall, fair-skinned people who stood out from the rest of the population. Who were they? Colonists from distant lands? Representatives of a different race? Or is this just a symbolic division between rulers and common people? These stories are so contradictory that some see echoes of something larger in them. Perhaps the long-ears were the remnants of an ancient, highly developed civilization that was already dying. Perhaps they were the last bearers of ancient knowledge about how to raise stone giants. Archaeological finds confirm that the culture of Easter Island was unusually complex. It had a written language, Rongo-Rongo, the only one in all of Polynesia. But who created it? And why is there nothing like it anywhere else in the vastness of the ocean? These questions call into question the very official version of the origin of the Rapa Nui. If they really came from another island, why did a unique script, unparalleled, flourish here on a tiny patch of land? Why were the Moai erected here and not on other Polynesian islands? Easter Island seems to hold a secret, the key to ancient knowledge that was brought here and left as a message. If Easter Island has become famous all over the world, then the reason for this is undoubtedly its stone giants, Moai. These majestic statues, as if frozen in eternity, look into the depths of the island and not towards the ocean. Their silent faces attract attention, and their presence suggests that the island holds secrets that humanity has not yet unraveled. The Moai were more than just stone idols. Each weighed from several tons to tens of tons, with the largest weighing more than 80 tons. The largest, never completed, weighed, according to scientists, about 270 tons. But how could a small, isolated people build such giants? Most of the Moai were carved directly into the Rano Raraku quarry. Even today, many unfinished statues can be seen there, as if the masters had suddenly abandoned their work and disappeared. Some statues are half chipped from the rock, others are almost finished, but have not been moved from their place. The stone they were made of was volcanic tuff, relatively soft but still requiring enormous labor. The official version claims that the Rapa Nui used stone and wooden tools. But was it really possible to carve hundreds of giants up to 10 meters high with primitive tools? Some researchers believe that there is hidden here a special knowledge of stone processing, lost by modern man. There is even a version that the islanders had a technology of softening stone, a mysterious art that allowed literally sculpting from the rock. Similar myths are found in the Andes, among the Incas, and in the legends of other peoples. But if the creation of the Moai is a mystery, then their movement is an even bigger mystery. Imagine tens of tons of stone that had to be transported from the quarry to the shore and placed on platforms. Ahoo! No metal, no wheels, no draft animals. How did they do it? Some archaeologists believe that the statues were dragged on logs, but there is a problem. There was practically no forest on the island, and to transport statues weighing tens of tons would have required hundreds of people. But the island's population has never been so large. There is another version that the Moai walked by themselves. According to legend, the statues moved as if they had come to life thanks to mana, a spiritual force that shamans directed into the stone. And indeed, modern experiments have shown that a statue can be made to walk by shaking it from side to side with ropes. But even if this is so, the question remains, why erect hundreds of statues if this required incredible efforts? Most scientists believe that the Moai symbolized ancestors. They were not just sculptures, but images of leaders, priests, and heroes who continued to protect their people after death. That is why the statues look inward to the island, as if watching their descendants. But there are other versions. Some researchers see in the Moai not just symbols of ancestors, but a kind of antenna for communication with the divine world. Their deep eyes and elongated ears seem to be designed to hear and see what is hidden from ordinary mortals. Mystics claim that Moai are beacons of power, installed on the energy nodes of the earth. With their help, the island became a portal between worlds. Perhaps this is why the statues are not located chaotically, but in certain places that form geometric lines and figures. There is another mystery. Why did so many Moai fall? Some believe that it was the result of internecine wars. Others believe that the Rapanui themselves toppled the statues when their faith collapsed. But there is also a darker version, that an unknown force deprived the Moai of their power by knocking them off their pedestals. The longer you look at the Moai, the more you feel that they hold not only the memory of their ancestors, but also a message to humanity. Their faces are like frozen masks of eternity. Their silence is a mystery that stretches through the centuries. Perhaps these stone giants are the key to the mystery of the origin of the Rapanui themselves. Or were they created as evidence that here, at the edge of the world, live the keepers of ancient knowledge associated with vanished civilizations? To understand the mystery of Easter Island, it is not enough to look at the Moai as archaeological sites. We must turn to the legends of the Rapanui people, who have preserved echoes of the distant past. These myths and legends sometimes sound like fantasy, but they may contain the truth about what happened to this mysterious island. According to legend, Easter Island was discovered by a leader named Hotu Matua. His people arrived by canoe from the distant land of Kiva, a mysterious country that many believe to have sunken. It may have been Polynesia, but it is possible that Kiva is merely a symbol of a vanished ancestral homeland that sank into the ocean like Atlantis. Hotu Matua and his tribesmen landed on a deserted island, which became their home. Over time, the people divided into clans, each of which erected their own Moai, asserting the power and strength of their ancestors. But along with this, feuds arose, which eventually led to bloody conflicts. One of the most mystical legends of Easter Island tells of two warring tribes, the long-eared and the short-eared. The long-ears, according to legend, were the first inhabitants of the island. They were tall, had long ears, and possessed some special knowledge. Perhaps they were the ones who began to build the Moai. Their descendants were considered the guardians of the secret art, magic, and powers of their ancestors. The short-eared ones came later. They were more numerous, but less sophisticated. A fragile peace was maintained between the two tribes for a long time, but eventually a war broke out. The legend goes that the short-eared rebelled and exterminated the long-eared. The latter were driven into a ravine, the grass was set on fire, and they were burned alive. Thus, the ancient race of keepers of secret knowledge disappeared. But some researchers believe that the long-eared were not a myth at all, but a real people, possibly aliens from another continent. There is even a version that the long-eared people came from South America. The Incas and Mayans also have a tradition of stretching their ears with the help of jewelry. Perhaps there is a real story hidden here about the clash of two cultures. Easter Island is permeated with the idea that the spirits of ancestors are always nearby. Moai were not just stone sculptures. They were bodies for the spirits of chiefs and priests. Through them, ancestors protected their descendants, gave them strength and wisdom. This power was called mana. It was mana that allowed shamans to move the stone giants, raise them, and animate their gaze. But mana was dangerous. If used incorrectly, it could lead to disaster. Local legends also tell of mysterious spirits that came from the ocean. Water creatures, sometimes in the form of people, sometimes in the form of monsters, appeared to fishermen and brought signs. Some said that they were messengers of the gods themselves. When faith in the Moai weakened, a new cult emerged on the island, the cult of the Birdman. Ancient drawings depicting people with bird heads are still preserved on the Orongo rocks. Every year, the chiefs had to take part in a dangerous competition. Their representatives had to swim to a neighboring island and bring back the first seabird egg. The one who brought the egg became the new birdman and received power for a year. Why did this cult arise? Perhaps it was an attempt to replace the collapsed faith in the Moai. Or perhaps it was an ancient ritual of communication with the gods, passed down from the ancestors of the long-eared ones. The Rapanui myths were lost when the island came under European rule. Colonization, disease, and the slave trade nearly wiped out the local population. Many of the traditions disappeared along with the bearers of the tradition, but what remains is striking in its mystical depth. We see the island as a place where different forces clashed: ancestors and descendants, priests and warriors, gods and spirits of the ocean. Legends remind us that Easter Island was not just a tiny piece of land in the ocean, but a real arena of struggle of ideas, faith, and magic. When Europeans first set foot on Easter Island in the 18th century, they found a strange sight. Hundreds of giant Moai lay toppled to the ground. Fields were abandoned, and the islanders themselves looked exhausted and weakened. They seemed to be a people who had survived a terrible catastrophe. But what had happened on this patch of land in the middle of the Pacific Ocean? This mystery remains one of the darkest mysteries of history. Scientists and mystics offer dozens of versions, and each of them seems plausible. Easter Island was once covered in dense palm forests, but in order to transport the Moai, people cut down the trees. Wooden beams were used as rollers, ropes were made from palm fibers, boats were made from tree trunks. Over time, the forest disappeared completely. The land became a desert, crop yields declined, and fishing became impossible because there was no wood left for boats. The people were trapped. The island was exhausted and the ocean cut them off from the rest of the world. Some archaeologists believe that this was the main reason for the fall of the Rapanui civilization. People cut down nature for the sake of stone idols, and as a result were left without food and resources. The Moai, which were supposed to protect, turned into a curse. According to legend, the clans of the island were at odds with each other. Each sought to erect more Moai than the rival. The giant statues became a symbol of power and might. But the more Moai were erected, the more intense the competition became. Eventually, the world collapsed. Clans began to fight for land and food. In battles, defeated Moai were thrown down to destroy the power of their rivals. This is why we see so many fallen statues today. Some researchers believe that this was not just a war for resources. It was the destruction of alien gods. When a clan won, it toppled the enemy Moai, as if toppling their patron spirits. The 19th century became even darker for Rapanui. European slave traders and pirates took the locals onto ships and sold them into slavery in Peru and Chile. Thousands of islanders disappeared. The few who returned brought diseases that wiped out entire families. Eventually, the population dwindled to almost zero. Along with the people, the memory disappeared. Knowledge of Rongorongo, the secrets of the Moai, the legends of the long-eared. Literally, history died out along with the bearers of tradition. European travelers unwittingly brought diseases to the island that the local population had never had. Smallpox, tuberculosis, syphilis, all of these mowed down the Rapanui faster than any war. Some researchers believe that the epidemics destroyed not only people, but also faith. When shamans and priests were powerless against the disease, people became disillusioned with the Moai and stopped building them. There are darker theories too. Some shamans claim that the Moai had real power. But when the people lost respect for their ancestors, this power turned against them. The fallen statues seem to have become a symbol of the spirit's wrath. According to one legend, a curse was placed on the island, and until the memory of the ancestors is restored, Rapanui will remain deserted and abandoned. Some anthropologists believe that it all happened because of a fanatical belief in the Moai. The people believed that the more statues they erected, the more power they would gain. But this belief became a trap. The Rapanui spent all their resources on stone idols, forgetting about the future. As a result, the island was depleted and the people were hungry and exhausted. The Moai became a symbol of the death of a civilization that had built its own death sentence. The truth probably lies in a combination of these reasons. Easter Island was like a laboratory of civilization, where all the troubles of humanity manifested themselves at once. Ecological catastrophe, wars, epidemics, slavery, curses. This small enclosed space has become a mirror of the entire world, and this is one of Rapanui's greatest secrets. When we look at the island from a mystical perspective, scientific hypotheses begin to seem like only part of the truth. There are things that are difficult to explain with the help of archaeology and history. Moai, Rongorongo writing, the disappearance of the people. All this leaves room for amazing, sometimes frightening guesses. Some researchers suggest that Easter Island is one of the last vestiges of an ancient civilization similar to Atlantis. They point to coincidences, advanced stone construction, unique writing, the disappearance of the people. Perhaps the Rapanui were the heirs of Atlantis' knowledge, bringing to the island the secrets of geometry, astronomy, and earth energy. According to one version, the long-eared were the keepers of this knowledge. Their physical and spiritual differences, tall stature, elongated ears, the ability to control mana, could have been the legacy of an ancient civilization. When they disappeared, the knowledge disappeared, and the island remained as a frozen archive of forgotten wisdom. An even more mystical version is visits from aliens. Some ufologists believe that the Moai are markers of landing sites or beacons for ships from other worlds. The long-eared ones are the messengers of these creatures, and Rongorongo is a language encrypted for communication with extraterrestrials. There is no evidence, but the idea itself is fascinating. How else can one explain such coincidences with astronomical orientations, the precision of the placement of the statues, and their strange proportions? Scientists and mystics note that the location of the Moai on the island is not accidental. The lines of Ahu and statues form geometric patterns, which, according to esotericists, create energy flows. These energy networks supposedly strengthen mana, making the island not just land, but a portal between worlds. Local shamans said that if you stand at the right point, the Moai can tell you the truth. And even modern visitors sometimes claim to feel strange vibrations at the base of the statues. Rongorongo's script remains inaccessible to the modern world. Some believe that it is not just a language, but encrypted knowledge. Perhaps these are instructions for managing mana, a recipe for interacting with energy flows, a map of the starry sky, or directions for extraterrestrial contact. No one has yet deciphered the Rongorongo completely. Each symbol, each curve is a riddle that, if solved, could change our understanding of history. Strange stories surround the statues themselves. Some researchers claim that at night the Moai's eyes glow, and the stone seems to become soft and pliable. Rapanui legends say that the statues can move on their own, come to life, and whisper the secrets of their ancestors. These rumors sometimes seem like just a myth, but it has been experimentally proven. Large statues can be made to walk when swayed in a certain way. Can this be called mysticism? Perhaps. But for the people of the island, it was a ritual, a connection with the spiritual world. There is a theory that Easter Island is not just a piece of land, but an energy hub of the planet. Moai, Rongorongo, and ritual structures could have been tools for working with these flows. Some esotericists believe that the vanished people went to another world through a portal they themselves created. Perhaps it was not a physical departure, but a spiritual one, leaving the island in silent anticipation of new generations. Easter Island remains one of the world's great wonders, shrouded in mystery. There are no easy answers, Stone giants, fallen or standing in silent majesty, seem to watch anyone who dares to touch their history. We traveled from the first settlers who arrived by canoe to the last remaining Rapanui people on the island. We learned about the long-eared and short-eared, about rituals, culture, wars, and disasters. We considered the versions of the disappearance of civilization: ecological, military, epidemic, and mystical. We looked into legends and myths, where the spirits of ancestors whispered their secrets through Moai, where Rongorongo still keeps encrypted knowledge. But even after all this, the question remains: who are they really, these mysterious Moai builders? And where did they go? Are they gone forever, or do their spirits still live among us, hidden in the shadows of the stone giants? Modern research brings us closer to the solution, but the answers remain elusive. Archaeological excavations reveal details of their lives, but do not provide a definitive picture. Ethnographic evidence and legends leave room for mysticism. Every stone on the island, every Rongorongo sign, may hide a part of the truth that has yet to be discovered. The Moai stand like silent sentinels, guarding not only the memory of a people, but also the mystery of human history itself. They remind us that sometimes the mystery is more important than the answer. We see before us the lesson of the ancients, how a small civilization can create great things, how faith and culture can build giants from stone, and how easily a civilization can disappear, leaving behind only the whispers of history. And now when you hear these stories, you become part of the journey. You watch as the mysteries of the past intertwine with the present, as mystery takes shape in stone and legend. If you like this journey, if you felt the breath of ancient spirits, if you were intrigued by the fate of the Rapanui and the secrets of the Moai, support the channel. Like Inoi's show, subscribe and leave a comment. Write what you think about the fate of the disappeared people and what secrets Easter Island still hides. After all, only together can we continue to explore these mysteries, discuss versions, and share our impressions. And who knows, maybe someday we will get closer to the solution. Maybe the stone giants will finally reveal their secrets. Easter Island remains here, in silence and eternity. The Moai look at us, we look at them, and between us is a bridge of millennia. And everyone who touches this history becomes the keeper of a secret that has not yet been revealed.